Sounds like a business we could get into.
Well, we need to do something.
Huh?
Oh my
Let's
goodness.
do it.
All right, what you talking about today?
I want to talk about what you and I were discussing.
I didn't know
My
about
stuff, I can do mine the next time
we can do it this morning too if we have
we're
time.
together.
This morning I was going through my Daily Mail in Murfreesboro, Tennessee. The football coach been up there 10 years.
Yeah.
So anyway, this kid, I'm assuming black kid, comes in and gives him his paperwork, and then I don't know, he said the coach disrespected him. He beats the coach where the coach has to have facial surgery.
Yeah.
Then walks outside, puts his hand behind him. They call the police, and then they cuff him. Said the coach disrespected him.
Yeah.
So he beat him?
Yes, that's the same thing. It's similar. Happened to Chattanooga. The judge got on the guy, Aaron Hernandez. They said he don't like being disrespected.
Yeah.
Where have these people earned? What is respect to these people?
Well, I think
They're thugs.
they are, and to them, I think, respect is equal to fear. Aaron Hernandez or these other people, when they say that
you got that story, by the way.
You've disrespected me, they think, in their mind, it's, well, you're not acting like you're afraid of me.
So
and they've just been taught a wrong attitude and wrong definition of what respect truly is, because in the bottom line, real respect is earned. It's not given. It's not for you to demand to be given, because any kind of respect that you could make somebody give you is not true respect.
Correct.
And these kids don't understand that.
Well, I can see you respecting your dad or us respecting Frank or whatever, because they're older than we. We were brought up in a different era. We respected people older than us.
Right, absolutely.
But for some thug that ain't got nothing, is going to steal whatever they get to come in and shoot some people, and it beats up a great coach.
Yeah, yeah. Well, and you just said it right. You hit the nail on the head. You and I were taught respect. We were taught that from a young age, that this is how you responded to people. And for those of us who are followers of Jesus, it's throughout Scripture it talks about it. And I'm real big on Proverbs, and there's tons of verses in there about the respect.
Right.
These kids have never been taught it. Aaron Hernandez was never taught it.
There's no foundation.
This kid in Murfreesboro was obviously never taught it. So what they were taught on the street was respect, again, equals fear. Equals that I'm more powerful than you, that I can overpower you. And so therefore that's why because the kid in Chattanooga told the judge asked the kid, why did you shoot this person? And his response was, because he was walking in my hood. He was disrespecting me because he wasn't showing fear and he wasn't showing deference.
Poverty-stricken government housing.
Right, and the judge very rightly said, that's not your hood, that's our neighborhood.
Right.
That's our city, that's our town.
It's not yours.
What's interesting about it, though, I think, is that those guys have such an attachment to where they live, their hood, that they're willing to shoot somebody over it. I mean, because honestly, the only place I'll shoot somebody over is walking in my house. Other than that, I wouldn't shoot anybody for walking in Athens, even though it's my home, or Madison where I live, or anything else.
Hope not.
But I don't have the kind of attachment to my neighborhood that these guys do. And it's because, how deep do you want me to go?
They have
I can talk a long time.
Are they acting like they're judge and jury in that neighborhood?
They are, because that's their world, and they don't see anything else. And they don't have anything else. That's the whole thing, Jamie.
They don't have anything else.
They don't have anything else except that it. But it's even deeper than that. One of the biggest needs that any man has is to be part of a community, to be part of a group. And that's what they have. And that's why you see guys that'll do gangs. That's the reason you'll see guys that will go in the Army and still be friends 20 years afterwards.
Right.
It's just that need. And so if the gang that they're in says part of being in the gang is to protect this community, then that's what they're going to do. Mm-hmm. Because, again, they've never been taught any different. And that's the thing I don't want us to lose.
And they're getting leadership from the wrong people.
They are, but it's still leadership. You're exactly right. It's still leadership. It's just the wrong kind of leadership. And so what I would love to know from this coach in Murfreesboro is what he said to the kid. Because you're right, the story said the kid was just bringing his paperwork to play football. Well, I remember when I played, the paperwork you took in again was
That
just.
already in the central office or whatever.
Well, you brought in something that my parents
take it to
signed that
them
said
and
it was
give it
all right if I played, and I brought in a doctor's note that I
Right,
went.
and you were physically able to
and that
play.
was it. That was all. So if that's still the case, the only thing I can think of.
Well, what if the coach said, well, what makes you think you're good enough to play on this team? I mean,
Would you
didn't
give
you
it
guys
easily
hear
to?
that
I absolutely
often?
could see a coach doing that.
Exactly.
If he's trying to, if he knows this kid and he's trying to motivate him and make it mean
Tell me
something to
why
him.
you need to be on this team.
Right. Maybe that's it. I don't know. But again, I don't want us to lose the fact of this kid is responding in the way he's been brought up. And this
Doesn't
is
make
what
it right,
happens.
though.
It doesn't.
It's just-
It doesn't. But what it means, though, is that it's fixable. It means this is something that we can do something about. It's not just a totally lost cause.
So when he's sitting in a jail cell thinking about what he did and how he reacted, is that how you're fixing it?
I don't know that that's how you fix it. I think that's teaching him consequences of his
To
actions. The only way
He's
it's
going to be right back in that same cell.
unless
Somebody gets a hold of him.
unless something happens. And real quick,
Catches his
I
attention.
did a podcast episode with a guy from Nashville that owns a company called Salem Town Board Company, and they do handmade skateboards, and he specifically and intentionally placed his shop
I remember you telling us that.
in just a horrible neighborhood. And so here's what happened. One of his guys got arrested. In fact, we had to reschedule our podcast episode 2 times because he was going to court with the guy, right? But the guy who owns the place is still working with him, and that's the only thing that's going to make this kid.
Someone to
you
get
can
back
put
in.
somebody. You can put somebody in jail as much as you want to. They're not going to be nobody gets rehabilitated in jail ever. Nobody's. I mean, I can bring guys in here that've been working in prison ministry for years, and nobody gets rehabilitated in jail.
But you can't leave them out amongst the good people.
No, you can't. But what you've got to do is also say. You can't just say we're not going to do anything for them, or you're just going to keep putting them in jail. I mean, I'm far from a bleeding heart liberal, but the numbers are plain. We spend more money incarcerating people than we do educating them.
And then now they're so overpopulated that you're having to let people go that really shouldn't be allowed to go. And it's just like how drug courts started.
So, but here's where I was headed with this whole thing. The only way a young guy gets better is because an older man takes an interest in him and
takes
shows him
time
how.
to do it.
Men learn by example. I mean, I write books and I'm writing another book, but one of the main reasons my first book was so short was because it was not designed
You
to
didn't have a lot
be.
to say?
Huh?
You didn't have a lot to say?
No, I had a ton to say.
Hurry up and get your
but
point made.
that book is designed to be worked within a group of men. The whole design behind that book is
Discussion.
an older guy sits down with younger guys and walks them through it, because that's how guys learn. So how did that kid learn in Murfreesboro that's how he was supposed to respond? Because the only males in his life had said, this is what you do. And he said,
Beat
okay,
someone
I
that's
just
what I'll
opened your
do.
book up. This is what it came to. And just open it up. It says, if you'll take the time to think about your choices, using these 3 questions, it will be almost impossible to make a bad choice. Questions. What is the best decision you ever made? How did you make it? What is the worst decision you ever made? How did you make it?
Yeah.
And that's what I opened to.
Right. So it's
as
just
simple
simple,
as
but
that.
that doesn't work with, it won't work as well if just a 17 or 18-year-old guy just reads that by himself. Again, what that was designed for was actually for college football teams, that a coach would sit down with his 10 position players or whatever, and they would go through that 30 minutes a week. And it's designed to happen really, really quickly.
Another example.
It's good discussion.
Remember the
material.
jogger from Australia? What a good-looking 22-year-old kid was jogging down the road. His girlfriend, he was over here, had a scholarship. Black kid just shoots him in the back, jogging just because he wanted to shoot somebody.
Yeah.
Guy died. That guy's
The
trial
wrong
now.
place at the wrong
Which is
time.
just heartbreaking to me, because that kid had so little value
But the other guy had
in human
everything to
life.
live for. And he didn't even know him. He just shoots him because he's a white jogger.
No, he shot him just because he was
was
anybody
there.
he could shoot.
Right.
Didn't matter
Because
what,
you have
who he
so little
was.
value of human life, because he doesn't think his life is of any value.
Good point.
You're right. He thinks, I'm a loser. I'm never going to have anything. My parents were poor. My grandparents were dead broke. I mean, it's just this vicious cycle. I mean, I say it all the time. Here, my email's about to blow up, but I don't care. Democrats have done the greatest disservice to black people that's ever been done.
I agree.
They have put them in a cycle of poverty.
Why do they keep voting for them?
Because they keep
Charles
getting the
Barkley
money.
asked that question.
But because they
I
don't want to
love
give
Charles
up
Barkley.
that money, but yet they need that money, but yet they are
But
staying
it's only
where
enough
they're...
money to survive. That's
Right.
all it is. I mean, it's not enough money to do anything
Hillary
else.
Clinton is going out and meeting with regular Democrats, but each one of those people in her little meetings are vetted before she
Right.
gets there
Right.
to make
So the
sure
cycle
they're going to say
continues.
exactly what she wants them to
But
say.
I just can't overemphasize enough the fact that the reason young men act the way they do is because that's the way they've been raised.
Yeah.
I mean, it's just that simple.
Oh, that's a good point.
I mean, it is
Sad.
really that simple. I mean, you take, of all the guys that I grew up with that grew up with good families, good homes and whatever, the percentage of them that went haywire, maybe 2 or 3%. I mean, the scripture, in fact, I was just putting something out on Instagram out of Proverbs, and so I was in Proverbs 22. And it's that famous verse, raise up a child in the way he should go, and when he is old, he will not depart from it. I mean, that verse was written 3,000 years ago, and it still works today. And remember, Proverbs was a father writing to a son. And so why do guys turn out the way they turn out?